about a year ago, you tweeted, before the filming started of that, of Series 2, you said, time travel absolutely scrambles my noodle. Series 2 is going to be bonkers. Is it as bonkers as you promised it would be? And why in particular does time travel scramble your noodle?
Nah, I got to get off social media. Scrambles my noodle. What awful wording. It's like tweeting like some sort of street urchin. I was like, I think, boy, that tweet was very much a cry for help.
This is often the case with your tweets.
Very much so, yeah. With everything I do. I found it this is a very difficult show to write. And time travel is difficult. It's a difficult concept. It's a difficult thing to wrangle.
This screening, as well as screening it for fans of the show and press, etc., it's also part of a BFI series about time travel, destination time travel. And so, did you, when you first had the whole idea for the show, going way back, was time travel a key element of it, or did that come later?
Or like originally, like the very first. Yeah, I mean, it was always. The first series is like less a time travel show; it's more sort of time loop show. So in the first series, they can only go back to the 1st of July, so it's this sort of very enclosed period of time that you can go back to. So it was less sort of time travel and more sort of the idea of being able to reset things that you'd done, and like the option of sort of doing things over, but only, and the sort of parameters of that, which felt sort of interesting and slightly different to me than time travel. There's loads of time travel stuff. There's less sort of time loop stuff. But this is a time loop show, so there's lots of lots of references.
It's time loop and time travel now.
It is, yeah. It's both.
We saw the machine at the end.
Yeah. Which
is the first time we've seen how you might be able to travel through time. Did you think long and hard about how that should look, and did you talk to people, the designer, etc.? How did that go?
Yeah, I mean. It's always interesting when you work on something like this and you write stuff down, and then there's like a team of art designers and production designers. They also bring it to life. And so I think I wrote just like, they lie down in a big egg and they get thrown down a tunnel, and then like these really talented
That's
people.
what you wrote.
That is what I wrote. Yeah, a big egg.
Big egg down the tunnel.
It's a time egg, and then like these sort of amazing people. People are forced to build it based on what you've written, whilst you were going bonkers and you're losing your noodle. It was about that. I think, it was sort of slightly based on like the idea that you had to go very fast to go back in time, which is stolen from Back to the Future, obviously. I didn't invent that, but yeah.
Obviously.
Oh, cool.
Carl, you're the newbie to the creative team. You directed the first 4 episodes, I think.
Yeah.
When you get the script from Joe for this show, does it scramble your brain as well? Or
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I think that's
scramble your big
still
egg.
Scrambled. Our big egg is still scrambled. Yeah, it's a complicated story, but that's also the attraction. Is the sort of emotional stories and the bigger sort of action, and also the personal within it. How he deals with the consequences of time travel. So.
And this is a show which has got action, it's got, time loops, it's got exotic locations. You really did film in most of those places.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that's, that is the challenge. The challenge is to sort of keep a sort of cohesion to everything, because there are so many strands and it goes off in so many different directions and can go off in endless directions, really. If you think, the stories sort of can keep going and going and going. You can kill people and bring them back and put them here and take them over there. So it's just sort of keeping some visual cohesion about that. Or having like sort of ideas about what we should be doing with that character and that being consistent, or that strand of the story.
And Paapa, for you, George has gone through quite a journey. Do you think? When I first watched the first episode, I remember thinking he's kind of an everyman figure. We can all relate to him. But by now, I don't feel he is anymore. I feel he's like, he's obviously killed all these people. He's an action man. He can he's a bit of a Sherlock investigator as well. Do you feel like he's evolved and changed over time?
Yeah, I hope there's been some sort of evolution, but that was definitely the initial attraction. The idea of like a very ordinary person who finds themselves in an extraordinary world, but. Yeah, the guy is like he's love drunk, isn't he? And it's the thing of what will you do for the person that you love, and then they dump you, Which thank you, Joe. But yeah, I think you can't put yourself in a situation like that and not learn or not change, hopefully. And I think definitely across the episodes in the second season, we see different sides of George.
And when you get the scripts, do you kind of get what's going on? Do you have to keep track of what's going on, the complexities of the storyline, and like the time loops alone? Like to remember what kind of tone each little version of each scene seems to be quite complicated to me.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to pile on Joe here. Right? I feel like there's a lot of heat on this guy right now, but. Yeah, obviously it's very complicated, but I think that's what's brilliant about it. And watching it on this big screen has been like that's an incredible thing to happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's ambitious and it treats its audience like they're intelligent, you know. And I don't think everything on television does that these days. So I think it's good that we're shooting for the stars in terms of like complexity and yeah, finesse. And I think, but I mean, like, shout out to script supervisors because I think as do you know what I mean? Because like every single day, we come with confidence, but we leave with confusion. So shout out to script supervisors.
Caroline, this feels like well, I remember when I first saw the first episode, like I was like, what a role Wes is. Did you feel that way when you first read the script for series 1? Do you think?
Yes, I don't really like science fiction, and I don't really like time travel things. So when I was told that was what I was going to read a script for, I have to say I was filled with horror. And then I read 4 pages. I was in bed. My husband's here. I was reading 4 pages, and I didn't leave the bedroom till I'd finished all of them, because for me, of course, it's about time travel. Of course, it's about the big themes in it. But what I really, really loved about it was the smaller, domestic, the moral choices, the relationships between the characters, and it's fucking funny, and all that combination was just delicious and remains so. And I think if anything, I don't know, this series kind of just carries on with that through line, and it's even more dynamic, funny, interesting, moving, challenging. And I still don't get to roll over the front of a car, which is a bit disappointing, but we live in hope.
In time.
Yeah, in time, yeah.
Because in the first series, I feel like Wes was quite an enigmatic character.
Yeah.
We saw her job, really.
Yeah.
We saw everything she did dealing with these people.
Yeah.
But we didn't really know much about her private life or what. But we already, I feel, are learning more, even in this first episode. Is that the case in series 2? Do we find out more about her?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's, yes, I think it's fair to say, and I have to be careful about what I do say, but I think it's fair to say she reveals things about herself that are staggering on lots of levels. I mean, to do with her work, to do with her position within the Lazarus Project, but also to do with her moral compass, the choices she makes, why she does what she does, why she feels it's important. I mean, it's extraordinary, and and I'm very grateful to have that opportunity as an actor to do all that stuff. It's just thrilling. Yeah.
Yeah. Anjli, what is it like actually for you watching? Because it looks fantastic on the big screen. Is it for you to kind of see the end product, if you like? Is that the first time you've seen that episode, and to see all of the action, all of the beautiful cinematography, etc., come together?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a blockbuster,
right?
And it feels like that when we're making it, to be fair. But I don't know. I think you read the scripts, and they are so bold and they are so cinematic, and there's some massive stunts and massive set pieces, and you commit wholeheartedly, and you hope it's going to turn out like that. So when you sit here and watch it, and it does, it's thrilling.
Mm. And how do you think your character's moved on from series 1? What's she evolved into, do you think?
I feel like George using the Lazarus Project to bring Sarah back makes Archie really question her own how far she went to try and bring Ross back, and whether she should have tried harder, and whether it questions her devotion to the project. I think she's one of those. She's a believer. She's a firm believer. She was headhunted. She wasn't a mutant. She chose to be there. She left the MI5 to join the Lazarus Project. But it's great to play that sort of that devotion being questioned, and that was really fun to explore in season 2.
When you come back after a whole series and for the second series, is it easier to get into character? Do you feel like you know her now and you kind of you ease straight back in?
Yeah, I mean, her costumes are so bloody iconic. The minute you put them on, you just it's literally stepping back into her shoes is a joy, and it's so easy and it's so fun.
Did you learn Japanese for that scene where you?
I did.
Yeah.
I forgot, and then I watched it, and I was like, oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, I speak Japanese. There we go.
I mean, it seems great to me that you pulled it off perfectly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Joe, the first series weirdly seemed to like predict a lot of things that would happen in the world. Were you tempted in this series to have a storyline where Spurs win the league or something, or do you think that's too far fetched even for you?
Well, Boyd, if I had predicted that, I would say the current league table would be looking very predictive too. No, I think there is quite a lot of Spurs chat in the
Yes, I noticed. Yeah.
in the series, but because we go back in time, it's a chance for us to relitigate some sort of famous moments in Tottenham's past, including the 2018 Champions League final. Other sort of moments that have haunted me throughout my life. The first series we predicted the pandemic and then the Russia-Ukraine war. So we didn't predict them, but I mean we wrote about them and then they happened. I'm just saying.
You're referring
When
to
you say
yourself
we.
as we.
We as a show.
We as me and my pen.
You did. You predicted it all.
We, yeah. No, but so this one I didn't do any predictions for fear of something coming true.
Yeah. You were scared, basically.
Yeah,
your own powers.
Your own noodle.
Predicting my own noodle being twisted.
I'm just in the writing process because you write the whole thing on your own. There's no writer's room or anything. Is that, well, do you?
No, that's great. Well, there was a writer called Howard Overman did a couple of drafts of two of the scripts for this one, but the rest is me. Yeah.
So is your home like full of post-it notes and timelines and time things?
No, it's not. I mean, but it should be. I mean, I tried to do. I did one little graph. I drew a little, it was like a circle, and then little bits coming off it with like characters' names and then dates and stuff. And it did look like the scribblings of a serial killer, basically. And put it up. But no, I don't. There's some post-it notes involved, but there's no sort of trick to it. I mean, it's a complicated show, and I don't enjoy having to work hard, think hard about things, and so that was. You just have to sort of sit down and sort of suffer through it, and just be like, okay, fucking, try and make sense of it in your head. And I had script supervisors and producers and stuff who would like email me and say like, oh, you can't write that because that person's dead or something or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And so we would try and catch it like that. But yeah, no, it's I would love to do something more linear in the future. Yeah.
Carl, for you, what was among all the different challenges, the action sequences, the fighting, the location, what was the biggest challenge for you as the director of those first 4 episodes?
Biggest challenge of all, I mean, it is the cohesion. It's just keeping it all together and keeping it in your mind. The whole story, all the worlds, all the characters, what they're doing, where they're supposed to be at certain times, and letting the actors know where they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to be doing and where they are. That's a huge challenge beyond just the challenge of the big stunts and everything. So I think that I'd say that, and also where we were going to start the show, we actually ended up starting somewhere completely different because
I broke my foot.
Ange broke her foot. So we had this whole stunt sequence worked out in Strasbourg, which was was it Bruno they were chasing? Can you remember?
Yeah.
They were chasing over the rooftops and everything.
Yes.
And we couldn't do that to begin with because Ange broke her foot, ended up breaking her foot. So we started somewhere completely different with a whole bunch of new scenes.
Oh wow!
There was a challenge.
Big stunt scene that's been replaced with Anjli sitting in a car.
Yeah, basically.
Can walk.
A lot of the scenes in episode 1, I've got my broken foot in a cast on its knee up on a wheelie chair, and I'm trying to look strong from the torso up, but down below I'm very weak.
Pulls it off brilliantly.
So you didn't break your foot filming the show? You broke your foot totally
No,
separately.
I tripped up a step and slid along the carpet with such momentum that my tracksuit bottoms didn't come with me, and I exposed my arse to a builder that was at our house at the time. So yeah, it was a wonderful moment that he got to witness, but sadly no stunts involved.
I read that you kind of brought the cast together on a one of those escape room
Yeah.
things. Is that true? And if so, why did you do that? And how did it bring you together? How did you bond during that experience?
I just love an escape room.
Oh, okay.
A bit too much, actually. I have to have a word with myself beforehand because I think it triggers something in me, and I think it's real and that we're all trapped in a room, and I just get very passionate and start screaming in people's faces and trying to solve everything. And so I thought it'd be a really good thing to do with everybody. We're quite a cerebral bunch, actually. I feel like the cast that this brilliant noodle twister of a show has attracted are quite a geeky bunch, and we did love doing the escape room once I finally shut up and let everyone get on with it. Would you say, Paapa?
Sure.
Do you all discuss among you the scripts, Caroline? Do you kind of take kind of compare notes and discuss?
Yeah, well, we need to because it's difficult. It's so we have a group chat and we text each other and say, "Are you dead tomorrow, or are you alive? What year is it tomorrow?" And it's hard. It's really hard, and you have to take. It takes a bit of homework to know what's happening. But so yes, we do, and we're very fortunate in as much as we rub along very happily together. It's a lot of everyone's here really. Hello, Tom and everybody, and we're just very lucky. We get on very well, and we enjoy the process. I think it's fair to say. And
the scenes between the two of you, I love, where you're kind of dealing with him. What sometimes is even a bit of a small boy.
Yeah.
There's a bit of an M. James Bond thing going on as well. I feel.
Yes, it is there, isn't it? Yes. Well, he's very naughty.
How does it feel? But the action element of it. Do you enjoy the kind of physicality of the role as well?
Yeah, I think you're right, actually, Joe. Like the action element has maybe been a bit more condensed in this second series. There was a lot of it in the first series, but yeah, it's brilliant. We had a great stunt coordinator that we worked with throughout the series, and it is great to be able to bring that kind of, if you want to call it Hollywood or Mission Impossible-esque kind of like set pieces to what can sometimes be like a very cerebral noodle twisting type show. It's also great that in this season, like a lot of the cast get involved in those kind of scenes.
Anjli, did you get your action scenes back after you recovered from your
injury? I don't know if the constant texting to you did
did
anything for my campaign, but yeah, I did.
Please.
Please. I was devastated when that happened, so I may have got the chance to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, she did. She texted a lot.
I mean, fair enough. One of the other feats of the series is you've got all your main core cast back. Obviously, Tom's back and all Vinette's back. Vinette's here. And you've got new characters as well. You've got new cast members as well, who we saw some of in the trailer at the end. Can you say something about the new cast members, maybe? There was the two great sort of pleasures of getting to another series was being able to bring actors who'd had small parts or smaller parts in the first series back, and to give sort of bigger roles, and then to get a sort of bunch of new people in as well. So we've got all sorts.
Sam Troughton joins us, doesn't he? Which is
Sam
just
Sammy Troughton, and he's there. We've got Colin Salmon. We've got Sophia. We've got who else have we got? Royce. We've got Royce. Lots of them are from
Amari.
Amari, playing young Royce.
Shout out Lorne McFadden. Shout out
Lorne McFadden. Lots of them are from this sort of like there's a sort of the Time Break Initiative who referenced obviously in that episode, and the sort of who were the sort of rival Lazarus Project in a way. So lots of the new characters are sort of from that sort of world and element, which was it's fun.
Did you have any great influences, like stuff, films or TV, that you kind of that influenced the look of it as well, that you wanted to go for?
Try and think the look of it. I mean, well, that'd be almost more you. I mean, you would. So you had the big egg.
We had the big egg. Yeah, I think it was just taking the lead from the first series, obviously, and then sort of just building on. In a world that it sort of begins in a place that, it's fantasy really, because they're in a loop and it doesn't really exist. So it's just not really caring about the reality of it and trying to find a look for all the individual moments and emotions rather than really worrying about, say, completely representing reality in some way. I think that was what we. So we took the first series and then just made it a little, not bigger, because I guess obviously there's a bigger scale in the first one about the sets and the stunts and all of that is slightly bigger. This is sort of smaller and more personal, I guess. But the look, definitely, we sort of blew up, is how I would describe it.
And did you guys in the cast, did you kind of look into the whole time travel thing, the science behind it? Were you tempted at all, or was it enough? It's all there in the script. Caroline, you're not interested.
No, I'm not interested in time travel. And well, I already.
You
know.
won't be coming to the
I know
season.
all about it. No, exactly. No, no. I didn't. I don't know. I don't. It's all. To be honest with you, I'm constantly amazed at what happens in these scripts. When I turn at every page and I'm delighted by something happening. It's all marvelous. I really feel. I feel when I just watched that, I have to say I was really, really proud to be involved with it, because I think it's massively exciting television, and that's kind of that's what I love about it, is it just picks you up and takes you all in every step of the way, and that is the beginning. I mean, honestly, it's incredible. And so for me, it's about the storytelling, it's about the drama, it's about the narrative, it's about the emotions, it's about the people. And I think it just does it. And in a way, for me, I mean, it's sort of secondary, the time jumpy stuff, in a way. Yeah. Is that wrong?
No.
Is it slightly wrong?
No, it's bang on.
No, is it all right? Okay.
Keep your noodle untwisted.
Okay.
I mean, you've been in all kinds of shows.
Yes.
Does this feel like something completely different
Yes.
for you? Yeah.
Honestly, it's an entirely new thing for me, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm just really, really enjoying it. I can't pretend to be sort of cool about it remotely. I'm with some of the coolest actors in the country every day, but I can't be cool about it because I think it's utterly beguiling and brilliant. And yeah, there you are. I've said it.
Paapa, there is also that it's got the tone of it is there's a kind of wryly funny undercurrent, which I think particularly in that episode was there. Is the humour a key to it? I think. Do you think so?
Yeah. It's been really exciting to play with that in this series particularly. Not that the first series wasn't funny, but like I feel that wry humour is kind of synonymous with a lot of Joe's writing, and the other TV projects that we love but won't mention today. But I think we as a cast have had a lot of fun playing with that, and like some of those like big group scenes are particularly enjoyable because there are lines that are being thrown across tables and across cars and whatever, and it's hard to keep a straight face sometimes, but I think that's one of the things that makes it really good.
Anjli, you get to be quite funny as well, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. Yeah.
Joe, and is that your default natural tone for? Because I think it does. I do see it in other stuff that you've done as well.
Yeah, it's a good. I mean, if you're writing a scene and you don't really know how to finish it, if you just have someone say something like funny, and you'll be amazed at the audience will just accept that you can just move on to whatever else. That is, yeah. But I also think there is. I don't know. I sort of hate it when shows are too po-faced or overly serious, and I do think people use humour in all sorts of situations throughout life. Do you know what I mean? But it's a sort of coping mechanism. It's quite a sort of British thing as well. Not that other countries don't do it as well, but I do mean it's like sort of how we sort of deal with the world. So yeah, I don't know. It sort of feels normal to do.
We saw in that episode as well that there's a 2012 element, which I think is, as the series goes on, is going to be a key kind of almost location, time and location. Why did you want to go there to that particular time? Yeah. And how complicated was it to recreate 2012?
I think we literally, because that was from the first series. I mean, it was probably because of the Olympics. I'd have to sort of try and remember, but I think it was literally like we knew that Janet, who knew Vanette, was getting sent back to a year, and we were like, what year has a very instantly recognizable thing? So you know you're in that year, and like, what happened in 2014? Like, who can remember? Like, you know what I mean? 2012 has the Olympics, like, so that's like, it's an easy icon. I think that's why we did it.
And for you, could this be an ongoing show, a returning show that, if I mean, it's a huge success and critical and popular, and you've got a BAFTA. Oh.
Boy, the people love it. I don't. I mean, yeah, sure. Like, yeah, definitely. I mean, you could, yeah, you definitely could carry on. I mean, if you watch to the end of the second series, you'll see a sort of what you could almost call it a blatant ask for a third series. You know, even that you go so far as to say that, leave it on a bit of a cliffhanger. But yeah, look, I mean, these things are out of our control. It's about, you know, so, people watch it, how, you know, what's the perception of all that stuff. But yeah, it could definitely carry on.
And how do you guys? Why do you think it has been such a success? What, you know, Caroline? Do you have a kind of?
Oh God, I'm not the person to ask. I really, you know, I'm assuming people get what I get from it, which is just thoroughly, overwhelmingly entertained. I don't know. I don't know what that is. You know, who knows? We make programs, and some of them you think are great, and people never want to watch it again. You know, but this, it just seems to. I think people react in the way I react when I read it, when I see it. I just think it just covers all the bases for me. I just think it's so entertaining, and you really do care about the people in it. And I know that's a really obvious thing to say, but you really engage with these characters because, you know, because they do undercut, they don't take themselves too seriously. You know, they do that thing. We all know people who work in the health service who, when things are absolutely dreadful, will make very dark jokes. You know, it's really, you know, it's about that. I think that's what people like about it, and you know, explosions.
Anjli, do you have why people liked it so much? Why it's
I think everything that Caroline just said. I think it deals with, but also it deals with massive moral quandaries. But the characters are so grounded and fun and funny, and it just looks like a blockbuster. You feel like you're being taken on this thrilling ride. Yeah.
And Paapa, because I think you're the fact that you know you're at the core of it, and there's a kind of romantic element, isn't it, that you are prepared to do almost anything, destroy the world for your girlfriend, who then dumps you, obviously. But so there is. Do you think that's important to its success as well? There's this emotional thing right from the start.
Yeah. I think so. I think the George-Sarah relationship is pretty unique. It's a pretty singular take on that kind of classic rom-com trope, and even though like there's a ridiculousness about it or like an extremity to it, I think people engage with the fundamentals that are at the core of that relationship and root for them, whether that is romantically or whatever happens in the second series. They root for them. They want them to be together, which is good. But I feel that about so much of the show. I think there's a real originality to it and a singularity to it.
See what you did there?
Which is hard to do in you got that.
Wait a minute.
But it's hard to do that in is something that's got such a well-trodden path.
Do you have ideas for season 2? Do you have storylines percolating in your head? In the noodle.
Listen, Matt, we were like literally still filming this show 2 weeks ago. Like, I don't know, have nothing in my head at the moment.
Okay, fine.
No, I've got loads of ideas.
That's the correct answer.
Well, you've got the concept, and you know, with the first series, the concept is that these people have a machine which allows them to go back to the previous 1st of July, and that's all they can go back to. And if they go to, or if time goes all the way around to the next 1st of July, the next year, that becomes a new checkpoint. It's like this sort of slightly fiddly concept, and I always knew like if we could get that across as soon as possible, and if people got that, then I thought that we would probably have them. And people would go along for the ride. But if you didn't manage to get across that slightly fiddly idea, then people would be totally lost. So that was the biggest challenge, I think, was just being like, look, we've got this idea. I think it's interesting. would you like to watch 8 episodes about it? And that's it. So it's just with anything, it's just about setting up the rules of the world. And if you're doing a genre thing, sci-fi, whatever, it's a little bit more fiddly. But that was the big one.
Yes.
Yes.
We go very deeply into the origins of it, and I've got to be so careful what I say. And I suppose it's fair to say that that causes enormous ructions within the group. I I think that's probably all I can say. But yes, you're onto something. Is she maternal? It's fascinating, and it's really interesting because it's very interesting to be a woman of my age playing someone who is, you know, the what looks like the top boss of these people, and it's very easy to sort of see a matriarch. And again, I think it's really hard because actually, you know, without revealing anything at all, we discover a lot about Wes that I certainly didn't imagine when I was in the first series, and it's really hard because it's really good plot, but I don't think I can say it. But I think a lot of people do pin that on her. I think I can see why. I understand it, and I think she, you know, and she is that is part of who she is. But there are, you know, that is you know, the tiny part of her that we know so far. And I think she is much more complex, and I think she is much more interesting. And I think, you know, what I would say is she's far from mumsy by the time you get to the end of the series. And that's for the sexual chemistry. It's actually between... yeah. I don't think... We need to talk about that, actually. Yeah.
Oh, wow, everyone's looking at me. I kind of think, like, yeah, I mean, you're right. In the first series, like, there's vibes, isn't it? But like, I'm not sure, like, where that comes from. Well, I do, but like, I think George and Archie see something of themselves in each other. You know, so like, I think their chemistry is very real, and. I think obviously the betrayal of Archie by George kind of like puts their relationship onto a different runway. But I don't know if that was ever, I mean, Joe, maybe you can speak to that, but I don't know if that was ever the destination. But from the jump, you can tell like there's a synergy between them, which I guess sometimes can be read in whichever way.
Yeah, second that, but intrigued.
Yeah, no, it's just a complex relationship, I think. I don't think there was ever meant to be a sort of, it was never going to go in that direction. But I think, yeah, there's just a lot going on. Point of that was to give sort of a motivation for Tom's character, Rebrov, and to do a sort of and also for Vinette's character Janet, and sort of explain both of them. And what I thought was interesting was you sort of present these, like, oh, this is the baddie, and this is the, you know, these are what these people, and then you meet them and you realize there's much more complexity behind them than you thought, and this is their backstory, and it was sort of rooted in tragedy. And yeah, I think that's the most sort of overtly like dark moment that the sort of series has had. Well, until there's bits later on in this one, but yeah, it was all about just giving context for the villains, really.
Because you do have kind of moments where people express their darker, like I mean, Shiv, who I feel sorry for more than anyone, having to wake up shot.
Bad, yeah.
It was bad, and that speech he has in that episode is it's funny, but it also drives the point home, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think it was sort of interesting just to try and explore the different, you know, I don't know, sort of horrific things that could come out of the premise. Do you know what I mean? Like, like in the what would happen if you lost a child, or what would happen if you had to continue to get shot by Paapa, like what, and all those sort of things. It's about sort of, I think there's an interesting sort of tonal shift that the series does, and hopefully we manage it where you can have sort of funny scenes and then really, really dark and dramatic stuff. And yeah, I'd be really interested to see how people react to where this series goes, particularly the last episode. It's pretty spicy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to say whether or not I do any stunt scenes in this, but okay. I think it's fair to say I haven't really been tested in that regard yet. If I had a stunt scene, I really wanted to do a stunt scene. I'd quite like to do, I like, you know, the one we've just seen where it's like running through the Casbah. I quite like that idea, running through, throwing myself over things and then punching someone as I walk through a door. And then I'd like to do it at work as well.
I feel like Archie dealt with her pain in a very different way in season 1 to how she is choosing to process it in season 2. Purely George saving Sarah being a catalyst in that. I think she carries a lot of pain and she hasn't really been able to process it, but her devotion to her job has allowed her to propel herself through all of that pain and just get on with being a good agent. I think she left the MI5 because she didn't feel like it was pure enough, but the Lazarus Project feels like it is. It feels like it has its heart in exactly the right place for Archie in season 1. And then season 2, I think that starts to unravel a little bit. I feel like that's all I can probably say.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm being an enigma now, but...
Skillfully done. Thank you so much for your question. Sorry, we have run out of time. Thank you to the panel. Congratulations on a brilliant first episode.